Some games sound great right from the jump. That's certainly the case with Iron Crypticle, the newest release from the makers of Aqua Kitty and Rock Boshers. It's a dual-stick shoot-'em-up that pays homage to Smash TV, all while taking elements out of everything from Gauntlet to Ghosts and Goblins. The result is the kind of action-packed experience that would have made Iron Crypticle a major hit in the arcades back in the early 90s. But here's the real question: is it good enough for 2017? This is the story of what happens when the King's Guard become lazy slackers. With nobody to fight, these brave warriors look the part, but are terribly out of practice and not very good at their jobs. This might explain the theft of the royal treasure, which mysteriously disappeared right in front of their eyes. Now it's up to the castle's 4 knights to jump in the hole and fight through floor after floor of dual-stick action. It's a simple yet effective setup that gets you right into the thick of things. Simply put, Iron Crypticle is a roguelike that sends our heroes through a bunch of rooms with waves of enemies. In a lot of ways, the structure feels almost exactly like a medieval Smash TV. There's a map you can use to chart your course through the crypt and pick up treasure along the way. Fight through enough of these rooms and you'll eventually run into one of the many large bosses. If you can slay the monster, you'll fall down to the next floor and take on an even tougher set of rooms. To even the odds, our heroes will gain experience points and level up from killing bad guys and grabbing loot. We'll also be able to pick up coins that you can use to buy items and upgrades. But be careful not to die, because this is a roguelike and running out of health means that you'll have to start all the way back at the beginning with level 1 stats. The good news is that leveling up is quick, especially when you get used to the combo-heavy scoring system. The developers liken the scoring system to games like Bubble Bobble and Rainbow Island, and I think that's an apt comparison. You can definitely see a lot of the influence throughout the game. While not an especially original concept, there are a lot of things that Iron Crypticle gets right. The game is good about slowly dishing out new weapons and collectibles, to the point where I was actually looking forward to jumping back in and seeing if I could complete the set. There's a staggering amount of stuff to find in the crypt. From treasure, to food, to power-ups. In fact, there's so much here that I can imagine teams of people working together to locate the hundreds of items. And that reminds me, multiplayer is another thing this game gets right. While it's limited to local play only, I like that you can take up to 4 people into the crypt at any given time. This captures the spirit of the arcade experience a lot better than most recent dual-stick shooters, and you can really tell that the developers have a genuine love for the coin-op games of that era. Best of all, the game is perfectly playable without others around. I had no problem getting sucked in as a solo player, though it's best with friends. On the other hand, Iron Crypticle suffers from a lot of the same problems that plague a lot of dual-stick shooters. While the leveling up is great and the bosses are fun to fight, I wish the random locations were a little more diverse. The game will occasionally mix things up with a graveyard or a stage with a fire pit, but there's a sameness to the rooms that make a lot of the floors run together after a while. I kept hoping for a little more variety, but it constantly felt like the game was limited by its very specific setting. Even with new weapons, power-ups, and collectibles showing up, there's a sense of repetition that creeps in after a while. I like that you can chart your course through the dungeon, but not enough is done with this idea. The same can be said about the role-playing elements. I wish you could do more to customize your character, especially when it came to the equipment. The leveling up is cool, but once again, it doesn't go deep enough. Although it covers a lot of familiar ground, Iron Crypticle is a fun little shooter that is even better with friends. It's occasionally repetitive, and the levels aren't varied enough, but this 4-player shoot-'em-up offers a staggering amount of loot to collect and hours of roguelike fun. Best of all, this is one of the few modern dual-stick shooters that truly understands what made those old arcade games so much fun. Total carnage. I love it. Hi, thanks for watching our review. So here's the question of the day. What old school arcade game do you want to see make a comeback? Personally, I'd love to see somebody make a Rampart game with online play. There's just something about building up those walls and firing cannons that does something for me. Anyway, I have a ton of reviews to get through over the next week. I'm currently playing Fallen Legion, Sins of an Empire, Anti-Hero, Serial Cleaner, Forever Racers, and so much more. We're also going to be taking a look at Electronic Gaming Monthly's worst reviewed games of 1991 on Wednesday. We have a busy week coming up, so I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,